Alright, so this is our last of our episode 6, 7, and 8 understanding of different things. The reason why I am releasing these three, I'm doing it as releasing it because on Wednesday, I would like to have a little bit of time on Tuesday and Wednesday to kind of, I always record all these videos in one go, and then I go and say release it, and then record it again in next Monday or whatever. So they are out there and ready to go for you all. So now let's take a look at how the dungeon works. Our first dungeon. Now I'm going to call this. I'm going to create a new. Okay, we can create a new, and we're going to say, let's go with dungeon. Let's just go with dungeon A. We're just going to call it dungeon A. We're just going to leave it that way. Let's put it up by 50 by 50. Okay. Dungeons, relatively keep it roughly 40 or above. Don't 40 or 50 above. World, keep it above about 70. I'm going to put it up at about 40. And about 40. Okay. So now as you can see, we generate a dungeon, but there's nothing here. Now, make sure that you have the dungeon set to the actual dungeon section. Okay? You don't need to loop this at all. Now, you can generate a dungeon, rooms. Let's just generate one that's just a rooms in general. Now, as you can see, it looks pretty dull. Let's go out of here. Okay? You can see that the dungeon looks pretty bland. Well, this is one way, and the sections are pretty bland as well. So if we go edit, if we go and generate our dungeon, you can also hit Control D in doing so. Let's add that wide passage mark in there. What will it do? It's going to make sure that these are set for good, decent passageways that they can get access to a lot quicker areas. You can also generate a dungeon with wide margins. So that's what wide margins are going to look like with your dungeon. If you generate with them. Without it, if you generate a dungeon without the wide passages, it's going to look something still like that, but with lower end wides. Now we could also say a maze. A maze, generally, you don't want a maze to look like this. Never ever set the maze to look this way, because it's just really generate a different dungeon. Let's go with wide passages. Let's go with add margins, and it's going to generally look like this. Now, in my general instincts are telling me that we need to fix this in general. Let's go plus in. We want to fix this. I want to fix it to a good standing. I'm going to basically extend we're still in the range sections, that's why. Okay, and then we're going to extend it out there. We're going to actually extend this by 2. And we're going to extend it out that way. And we're going to close out there. We're going to extend now. As you can see, the dungeons weren't quite created correctly. Now, mind you, I'm using a certain version of the game, of RPG Maker. I'm using an older version. You guys are probably using like a newer version for it. And I just haven't updated. I have disabled updates because I like a certain version. Now, I do want to actually, we're going to extend this out a little bit this way. We're going to extend this way down, and we're going to clear this section up there. and that's gonna look decent anyway. I'm gonna add general there, and then so now I like the way that we have things set up. I'm just making things look decent. Okay, I don't want it to be now I want to do something is where we're going to take and we can shift this up by utilizing this thing. So we're going to shift it up by 1, so back here it's got like a 2, and some areas are going to generally want to be like a 2. I generally, myself, I'm not doing it in this one, but I'm doing I'm doing it a lot differently because normally I tend to use it by 2 in a maze than doing it by 3, but I'm going to do it by 3 in this case. Let's get that cleared. Now, what I also want to do is we're going to set that there, and then we're going to add in our walls there. And we're going to do the same thing up here because we want to make sure that it's all uniformed and make sure that it's not there. Now, I do want to remove, since it is a dungeon, no. I'm removing all the shadows upon the walls. In a dungeon, you don't necessarily want to have the shadows. So this is the case where I never mess with it in the first place, but having shadows in a dungeon, there's really hardly any in the first place. I just don't like dungeons to be more that way. No. We're just showcasing general ways of creating a dungeon, but it's nothing. Okay, so there's our dungeon. Let's clear this thing out there. And I think we're pretty good. Oh, nope, I missed a spot. So let's make sure I got all of it done. All of it cleared. Now, I generally don't necessarily... I actually am going to put in our shadows in where it needs to be. I like to actually... No. We'll leave it that way. We'll just stick to one uniform where you can use this. That's why you use the shadow pens, is to add shadows to the thing. More or less. So now if we go in and we click on edit, not edit our dungeon, our range. Okay, this is where I'm going to, now if you made a mistake in a dungeon, okay, you can generate using different styles and different colors. We're just going to do this as a general, regular, good old dungeon. Now, I'm not going to set up the ranges yet because we're going to take a look at events, and creating certain events for a dungeon or creating puzzles. Now I will showcasing you how to create a dungeon or how to create a puzzle in the next episode. But the other thing I want to notice that when you go in and generate a dungeon, you want to make sure that your dungeons are uniformal. Don't stick to... You can stick to either doing rooms or mazes, but stick to utilizing wide passages. You don't have to add margins, but I did it in this one just to showcase how things work. So if you guys did enjoy this, I'm showing you how to create a dungeon. In our next episode, we're going to showcase how to make a dungeon look pretty look pretty. And we're also going to showcase how to make a dungeon feel like that it's that's not so empty. Now, I typically do a lot of empty dungeons, but I want to take a look and show how a dungeon is more clear and more broad, as well as taking a look at some events, taking more of advanced events. The other events that I showed you, case you weren't quite advanced, but we'll take a look at that next. So I hope you guys did enjoy. Hit that like button if you did enjoy. Hit that subscribe and that bell notification so you can always stay up to date with gaming. Matty rocks.